This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Oh boy.
Well, hello. Hello, everybody. Look at the wonderful faces we have on tonight on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, live edition Scarif Live. How is everybody?
Woo.
I'm just dumbfounded that you said beautiful faces. I don't.
Yeah, I was looking for one. I didn't find it.
That's what I wrote. Yeah.
He's got a clipboard.
Turn shoot
Rose-
yes.
Ro's the only one who's going to be
yes.
going off of a script. The rest of us are just going off script.
Well, that might change real fast. I have had no lunch, and this is my second beer.
Well done.
Well, Ro, thanks for having us. Appreciate you giving us the old invite here.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. What is up, people in the chat? Speaking of beautiful faces, we got Nicole, hello, peace, love, and Star Wars. Andrew's in the chat, Science
Nice.
Fictionary, hello.
Hello.
And Rural Farm Boy, Swaytions, yes, we are in the house. Who else is in here? Ubaldo is in the house. Thank you very
Nice.
much for coming by. I know Used and Abused said that they were going to watch us later. So hello, Kim and Scott. How are things
In the
going?
future.
In
How
the
do we look in the future? Oh,
Yes. Oh, Dave
Worse-
Richards is in
Worse
here.
than we do now.
What's up, Dave? Thank you for joining us. So we've been planning this one for a while. I didn't know what topic we were going to talk about. I just wanted to have you guys on as all of you as founding members of the Red 5 network.
yes.
Is it founding or foundling?
Oh,
This is the way.
It could be the foundling members of the Red 5 network. Yeah, that's right.
Aw, my third
Right.
found family. That's so sweet.
oh,
There you go. There you go. And I want to wish everyone a very early happy Star Wars Day. As my shirt says, it's May 25th is the day that we commemorate the release of the original film back in 1977. Most of you were not born yet, but some of you were by the looks of the gray in your beards.
Oh,
yes. One of these people wasn't born in 77.
Yeah. Oh, too funny. But yeah, Star Wars. Happy Star Wars Day. I know everybody celebrated Star Wars Day earlier in the month, but for those of us who are not too not too fond of that little clever marketing Kenner Disney May the 4th be with you. It's cool. It's cool. It gives us an opportunity to celebrate Star Wars all month long.
Right. Or at least twice in 1 month. I mean,
At least. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. I know that I like to celebrate Star Wars Day on days that end in Y.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
nice point. Good point.
Exactly. We've got some agreement in the chat. Yes.
Nice.
Let's see here. Oh, Backyard TARDIS is in the chat as well. Thank you very much, Nick, for joining us. Nick has an awesome channel. I
Oh my
encourage you
gosh.
guys to check it out. Adventures in Locksmithing. It's unique on the interwebs. He is a locksmith by profession, and he goes around locking people out and locking some people in sometimes.
And apparently, according to his comment, he enjoys watching sadists.
Stop it.
But
We're the cure for that, by the way.
yeah, absolutely.
Not only that, but he also has he loves Sonic the Hedgehog. He's got some really cool deep fandom love, and short form stuff is so entertaining, and Nick is fantastic, so definitely follow him for awesome stuff.
Absolutely. He is one of the most consistent followers and supporters of the Red 5 network. He's all over the place, and we need 10 more Nicks just like him, but we really appreciate his support. Not only here at the Scarif podcast, but I'm sure everywhere in the Red 5 network. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a nice group of folks in the chat, and I know we wanted to get started Like I said, I wanted to have you guys over. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but as we were planning on this, a lot of news dropped, news on the interwebs that a lot of Star Wars fans and Disney fans and fans of all the geek IPs that we all love, stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something first before we get into that, but now I forgot. A quick question. Let's warm up with a question that I posted a couple of hours ago. I posted, do you guys think that Disney should start stepping away from the original trilogy era, this Skywalker era that all, obviously the original trilogy was framed up against? Do we think that we are done with stories in that era? Should we kind of play around with other eras of Star Wars? And what do you guys think about that? Are we afraid to go anywhere else? I know Star Wars, they just dropped some news about some new movies coming out, and I almost find it I find it interesting because I think it's kind of like a social experiment. They're going to be doing, obviously, the Filoniverse movie is going to be taking place right in this little area that I'm talking about, a very comfortable area. We know what's going on. But then you've got High Republic stuff that happens many years ago before this. And then we've got a movie that is supposedly set many years after the sequel trilogy. So it's almost like Kathleen Kennedy is like, let's see where the fans are most warming up to, because we've got movies that span across all three eras. But what do you guys think? I'm going to go with Charles first.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think that what Disney says and what they market are two different things. There's the sequel trilogy, and look, I've really enjoyed Star Wars from the beginning. I was born into the OT and love what's happened since. And there's some great parts of the sequel trilogy that I love. And for all of our adventures in Batuu and Galaxy's Edge, you can see the love for the sequel trilogy characters, especially Rey and all these young girls who are, walking around, Pat's daughter included, love these characters. So there is a strong pull for these characters and what they've already developed. But when I look at that, and I love that part because it means the future is going to be there, I look outside of that and I see my son Declan. He plays Fortnite. And Fortnite rolls out Star Wars themed characters at regular intervals. And these Fortnite characters are all original trilogy characters, or at least prequel trilogy. So it's a very interesting part of what they're trying to market to what actually works versus what they want. And so they're trying to find that happy medium. And I can see that it's tough in certain cases because not everyone loves the sequel trilogy. Not everyone loves the original trilogy. So they're trying to, thread that needle. For example, I just looked today on Fortnite, and they've got Anakin and Padme from episode 2 characters that are available now in Fortnite. Right. So there's it's an interesting side of it where they're trying to make everyone happy at the same time, and that's really not going to happen for everybody.
Yeah, interesting. Who wants to go next?
You know that it's Fortnite, right? Hang on.
A little bit.
It's low.
It's low.
On.
It's not high.
Hello. Oh no.
All right. Well, while Rob's trying to figure his stuff out, I think that they've relied heavily on the Skywalker saga era in the past, and I don't see a need to completely abandon that. But I do like the idea of going back to like the first Force user and going ahead to how people with Force abilities can kind of have new and different abilities, and kind of explore those different areas, those different timelines, and even those different parts of the galaxy that we don't get in the Skywalker saga. But I don't know that they need to be like, all right, well, no more of this Luke stuff, and C-3PO who, I think they can still do some of that stuff from time to time. But I think some new and different stories would do the franchise some good as long as they invest in the storytelling.
Yeah, and Ubaldo's got a good point here. As long as they don't forget the original fans, I think. I don't know. A lot of us, have Star Wars stuff behind us when we podcast and go on YouTube, and I think it's been decades since the movie came out. Obviously, as you can see by my shirt here, 1977. But we I think the fandom that propped up this galaxy far, far away, not that we are owed anything, but I think it definitely shows you that we are loyal and invested in this IP, and we just want it to succeed. We want it to continue. And I don't mind stepping outside the original trilogy story, because obviously it's a big galaxy. We've already set up worlds and stories outside of that little era, which are fine. And as long as the stories are good, and as long as the stories are engaging and the characters are interesting, I think Star Wars will do fine in the future, wherever that era takes us, or whatever those stories take us. So just keep it going.
Yeah.
Rob, you got something to say finally?
Is this a little better?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, we all know that communications disruption can only mean one thing. So.
Exactly. Incompetence.
Right. We all know who's mixing this show, so.
Last fired.
Other than the comment about how nobody plays Fortnite anymore, Charles. So I don't know if that really applies, but the issue I think that they've got is that I'm seeing more and more that for the most part they're dealing with the product that they don't seem to really have a good understanding of. So what they're doing is they're taking things that have been established and have worked in the past, and they're just kind of reshuffling them and kind of throwing it out there as a new story. So I definitely think if they wanted to go back to Knights of the Old Republic type era, it would free them up a little bit to get them away from some of the things that locked them down in an era where, the whole Skywalker saga, there's so much knowledge, so much canon out there that it constrains them. And when they make mistakes, or they have writers who maybe violate the rules of the universe that they're playing in, the fans are really quick to pick up on that. But if they go back, it would free them up to some degree. But I think the first thing they just have to understand is what works and what doesn't. And I don't think if they go back 1,000 years and do a series about a OG Mando on Tatooine, we've seen Tatooine 70 times. So they need to come up with some new ideas, and instead of just constantly rehashing old stuff. And it's great to throw in some of those references for the OG fans, and even the fans of the prequels, etc. But it's been getting kind of stale, I think, in terms of the creativity.
Yeah, and I don't mind, throwing in somebody posted some member berries, as long as the story kind of provides an opportunity to tell that aspect of the story. But we look at Andor and how great it was. I mean, there was no lightsabers or Jedi or any mention of that. I mean, it was just a really great adventure story set in the world of Star Wars. And I think if they do a little more of that, I think audiences will be okay with it. And I know some people, one of the biggest criticisms I've heard about people that weren't too fond of Andor was that, it wasn't Star Wars. For them, Star Wars was the lightsabers and the Jedi. For me, it's like, look at our own world. I mean, we have such a different variety of I don't know, life, that it's not just one aspect of reality. It encompasses, a whole bunch of things. And I think that's true of the Star Wars world as well. Charles, yeah, Pat, you were going to say something.
I was. So I think that, with different people, different tastes, um, having different projects going on either simultaneously or around the same time, you can gravitate towards what you do like.
Sure.
And that whole sort of espionage, the the building of the empire and everything that is so interesting in Andor, some people just don't like. But then, like, there's young Jedi tales for those people, I guess. That offers different styles of Star Wars.
Right.
And if you're into what Rogue One brought and what Andor is delivering, there's, obviously there's more of that, and that can be appreciated by these fans, and then those fans that like to see lightsabers and blaster fights, there's stuff for them too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what Disney is about. I mean, Disney's an international company, right? And they're trying to appeal to so many different people and age groups and all that. So you've got, a plethora. We've talked about it many times, whether it's online or in our streams. It's the golden age of Star Wars. You have so many things coming out at once. You have, anime-inspired stuff with Visions, perhaps. You can see, like, Visions. You've got, like Pat just mentioned, the young Star Wars animated series. You've got Andor for the more, sort of spy side of it. You've got Obi-Wan. All these different things are coming out at the same time. You've got these massive entry points for the different fans. You'll find something that is appealing to you, and now you've got a Star Wars fan. And I think ultimately that means better for the entire franchise itself, is that you have your entry point, you have your interest. Hey, let's look at whatever else is available, and you can have an interesting point of what these characters mean, and then explore the rest of it at your own pace.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things I find interesting with this IP. It's unique in the way that it has lasted so long. It hasn't stayed dormant. I think if George hadn't sold it and just didn't do movies, then we would probably be a little safer in the platitudes of fandom, because there's nothing to criticize, there's nothing to watch, or there's nothing to react to, other than the old stuff that already exists. But now that Disney has, their hands in it, I mean, there's Star Wars all over the place. You mentioned animation, you mentioned live action. Hopefully we'll get some movies now. But it's interesting to me to be in a place where, us older guys remember the dark times in the 90s where there was no Star Wars, and now it's the complete opposite. There's like Star Wars every time you turn on a device. You see Star Wars this, Star Wars that. So it's kind of for fans that have kind of stuck around with it for more than 4 decades, it's interesting. At least it is to me.
Oh boy. What?
Here it comes.
Oh boy. No. Oh boy. Charles is having a good time reading, I think.
There's a few comments in that are fantastic.
Of course. Now, what I was going to say is that, Star Wars, going back to the OT, and one of the reasons I think that worked, it was such a dark time in the country. Everything that was coming out in the theaters was so heavy. Lucas had done his student film, THX 1138, and basically that was a hit when he was in college. But then when he came out and got together with Spielberg and De Palma and the group that basically put together American Zoetrope, and the first film they were going to put out was like an extended version of that THX 1138, totally dystopian, and it failed, and it basically ended up tanking that entire business venture. And that was when Spielberg basically challenged him, go do something fun, do something, that kind of goes against the feeling of the time. And that, I think, in large part is why that the OT films resonated so much with people. It was a break from reality. It was an escape. It was, something that let people take their mind off their day-to-day life. And I think one of the mistakes that's being made with Star Wars now is there are so many times where they try to fold in current culture, and it doesn't really become the escape that it really should be when it's being successful. So I think that's certainly part of it. Having fun, and then the other part of it is just throwing in some creativity, making it about the story. Because when Star Wars is about the story, it's successful. And when it's not, when it's trying to teach other lessons and the story gets kludgy, that's when it gets discordant, for lack of a better word, Ro.
There you go. And it only took 24 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I know you got me on a timer, so I got to make sure I step up to the table there. But just get to where you focus on story. And certainly Andor, I thought the first 3 episodes were very slow paced and not the greatest of the overall series. But once they got past that and they really started leaning into the story of it, it really started to fly, and I think it worked out wonderfully. So do more of that. Do more of the type of story you told in Mando season 1 and 2, and just have some fun with it. And I think that's going to resonate with people more than anything. Cool beans.
Quick little break. If you guys feel like supporting me, buying me a coffee here at the Scarif podcast, please head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Scarif. I will send you some stickers, and I will send you a glossy 8x10 signed picture of Rob.
Wait, who's signing it?
I don't know. Somebody.
Is it glossy or red-eyed? I'm not quite sure that's going to be. We'll figure that part out.
It's glossy for
Sweaty,
reasons.
Glossy, I think.
For reasons.
It'll probably be frothy. All right. So, main discussion. Let's talk about the elephant in the hotel room.
Oh boy. Hey, leave Rob out of it.
It's not a hotel room there that an elephant would fit in, but that's all.
Oh man. So we recently got news that the Star Wars Hotel is closing down in September, just in time for my birthday. I didn't get to go. Wah. But
Well, then I'm glad they're closing down, Ro. I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's
Sir,
interesting.
right
I think.
In.
I wonder if I can I can sell those wonderful pieces of Beskar, Rob, that you gifted me.
I will hunt you down and kill you.
I might be able to afford a 2-night stay at the Star Wars Hotel.
Not even close.
Not even close. No.
No.
But the internet is all over the place talking about asking, are you actually surprised that it wasn't sustainable at those prices? Less than a year, really?
Oh, it'll be 15 months, I think.
Yeah, but at this point, it's less than a year.
By the time.
Right. At this point, yeah. But I mean, that's a lot of cash. That's a lot of dough. And I know, it was a unique experience for families. Very immersive. It's something that a lot of people really kind of dreamt about doing and participating in. But those prices, when they were announced, people were like, holy moly, $1,500, $3,000, $6,000, at some point. And that's a lot of money.
I would direct you to Nick's comment in chat. I think that deserves a little attention.
Let's see here. It's a hotel I still can't afford.
Wait, where do I sign up for Nick's OnlyFans? Wait, wow. I mean, listen. As soon as you start offering pass holder discounts, DVC club discounts, and payment in calamari flan, you know what? It's the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I mean the writing was on the wall. I was really surprised that it actually lasted this long, but
the good news is the writing is in Arabesh, Rob.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to spell Spirit Halloween in Arabesh. That's how.
Stop it! You can't say that.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference, I don't know how you can tell that it's closed. I guess it just means the cast members aren't there. But I mean, the hotel rooms were not close to being full for most of these voyages. So, for those who are going, certainly a boutique experience, but there has to be significant operating costs.
Sure. Actors, the players.
Yeah. And again, they would have been better off trying this out in California, where they could have gotten some significant acting talent, I would think, because most of the performances that I had seen through a lot of the videos that I watched were lukewarm, I guess we'll call it.
Hey, Luke.
It felt very awkward in a lot of the interactions they had with the guests, but it's just one of those things that I think they made a major marketing decision taking and setting it in the sequel trilogy, because the people who are truly hardcore fans of the sequel trilogy are generally on the younger end and don't have the cash to spend for that kind of experience. And those that do have that money probably are not interested in something set in that particular era. So I think there was a disconnect there that they're now paying the price for.
But in the first, when Black Spire Outpost and Batu was first about to open, they had the comics run, and like in the first comic, Han Solo is OT age range, maybe a little bit sooner, in Batu. So you've got this tie to the original trilogy timeline already that you're doing as soon as you open the place. So, it makes sense that they could integrate these different timelines and appease more people.
Yeah, and early on, well, I mean, again, one of the biggest mistakes too is like we were smack in the middle of COVID, and they introduced this thing where you're basically quarantined inside this small little room and paying that amount of money, which was nuts. The other thing that I heard too, and I don't know if this is true, I would like to believe it is, that George Lucas still kind of retains some rights to some of the properties that he owned and obviously that he created.
Yeah.
OG Stormtroopers, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, et cetera, those characters. And the biggest reasons for Galaxy's Edge to have been created in the image of the sequel trilogy, hence the Disney creation, is that they just didn't want to continue to pay George, more on top of the 4.2 bill that was required for his, his take on additional marketing. I think that's. And it would make sense because when the sequel trilogy came out, you had action figures that sat on clearance shelves and nobody bought them. Snokes and Constable Zubios, Fins, and all that stuff.
Finn.
But they kind of pulled the plug and started to trickle in high-end collectibles from the action figure makers. You had some really nice Stormtroopers. You had some really great Anakins and Darth Vader sculptures that were amazing from the companies that we know. And as high-priced items as they were being sold again by guys with more of a disposable income than some of the younger fans, folks that have grown up with the original trilogy. And it kind of, the market kind of showed Disney that there might be a better way to sell Star Wars, and it's probably to the older fans, for whatever that's worth. So it's interesting. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that they just did not do a Galaxy's Edge set in the Lucas era Star Wars, because everybody was asking for it. Right. Why not do Tatooine? Why not do whatever? Well, you would have to, if my hypothesis is correct, it would have cost Disney a hell of a lot more to do that rather than just stick with the creation that they were responsible for and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Charles, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that the Pat has mentioned several times, when we're there often, is that the redressing of Batu and Galaxy's Edge itself could be very quickly returned to an OT era. Aside from the First Order, there's a few things they could do that would make for the next 6 months, Galaxy's Edge is OT era. You roll out some of the OT characters. You can make it more accessible to someone who is more familiar with the original trilogy. But you still have the Rise of Resistance that's locked into the sequel trilogy.
But then you do the B reel. You do the B reel on that, and instead of and then on the bridge, you switch out Kylo and Hux, and then you have Vader and Tarkin up there. Boom!
It's totally doable. Totally doable. So there's ways of making that work, and the Imagineers are legendary in making these things happen. So if there was ever an opportunity to make that happen, this is the perfect place that this could do. And so if then you extrapolate that then to the experience that we were talking about, like the hotel experience, Pat and I are basically the perfect examples of what we would do. People who are massively invested in Star Wars would do a cosplay for 3 days, enter into a character, and spend 2 nights, 3 days fully invested into a story, run it through. But we still have that reality of life that, like, you know what? We're Florida residents. We just lived through Hurricane Ian. Right. And for $2,000, I need a new shed. I need a new sidewall versus an extravagant Star Wars experience that it going to add up to $2,000. Life fits into that, and it makes it not accessible for us.
Yeah, we don't have that luxury of just kind of spending obscene amounts of money. We're not Jack Black and Lizzo.
Right.
Well, dovetails.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that dovetails exactly with what I was going to say, which is that I think Galaxy's Edge has been fairly successful overall. I mean, there's always a ton of people in there.
Right.
And because you can, if you're not into the sequel trilogy, you can ignore Kylo and fake Rey and Chewbacca. Chewbacca. Usually they do a pretty good job of casting the girls that play Rey. They tend to do the role really well. But I mean, most people don't know Vi Marati unless you're into reading the books or whatever.
Sure.
Chewbacca is going to be.
I heard of that guy.
No matter what. The thing is that you've got the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run attraction. Even if people don't know Hondo, they're in and around the Millennium Falcon the whole time, and that's OT heaven. So that works out great. So, and the overall feel of Batu is very Star Wars. The point that it could be easily rethemed. So that's, I think, why that works. I mean, it's easy to soak yourself into that environment. I think, they made some mistakes with the Star Cruiser. I think by the time they opened that, the idea of a day trip into Batu, most people had already been there a bunch of times. So there's no real value there. To the point that Andrew made earlier, to take a family there for that kind of money, you can do a really long, fun vacation with your family. Yeah. There's no pool. So, I mean, no, seriously. Most families go to Disney World, and their number one thing the kids do is they say they had a great time in the swimming pool as opposed to the park. So there's things there that, the kids seem to like the interaction in the Star Cruiser. But the question is, are the parents going to be into doing the role playing? And clearly there was no value proposition for a lot of the families taking their kids.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys, because that I'm usually a guy with mostly half full glass. And somebody mentioned a disconnect with Disney, especially with the introduction of these types of prices in the era that we learned about them. But now that they're canceling it and they're shutting it down, obviously it hasn't made the money that they wanted to make. But talk about the disconnect with the audience with the fans, I guess, of the Disney fans and Star Wars fans. Obviously, there's a certain percentage of fans that are able to dish out the amount of money that requires a hotel stay. But I would say 99% of fans will never afford $6,000 for 2 nights. As attractive as that experience may have been, there's no way. Do you guys feel like Disney is kind of disconnected from the general population as far as the fandom goes?
Absolutely. So, to Rob's point, you've got people that have the money for that, and they are either people that just have a lot of money, and this is like sort of a niche thing that people can do. Okay, well, let's do it because it seems to be the cool thing to do. That have very little to no interest in actually what's going on there. Or you have people that have the money for it, but like Han Solo, and like Darth Vader, because they're old enough to have enough money to spend on that. Okay, most aside from overnight YouTube sensations, your 20-year-olds aren't going to have that kind of money.
Right.
So the people that are going to be 30 plus years old, which many of those that age range were more appreciative of the prequels and the original trilogy than they are the sequels. So the people you're asking to spend this money either don't have it or don't have the interest.
I think there's also going to be people who were excited about Galaxy's Edge, the land, and felt like they kind of got robbed, because back when that land was originally pitched and all the photos and the talk about it, you were going to have droids roaming around the land that you could interact with. And some of these experiences that they basically put in the Galactic Star Cruiser, essentially putting it behind a paywall for people, and took that away from something that you'd be able to experience just going in the park. So I think there were probably people who might have been interested in aspects of it that just said, look, I'm not, even if I can shell out that kind of cash, which most people can't, I'm not going to pay extra for something you were supposed to give me when Galaxy's Edge rolled out. And I think they made a mistake with that. You had exclusive merchandise you could only get aboard the Galactic Star Cruiser. So even once you paid the $6,000 to take your family on the thing, they had a shop full of cosplay apparel. It would have cost $1,000 to fit your family out with just one costume. And not to mention, the cost of the drinks and the add-ons that were in there. So it was a pretty pricey experience. And I think that, price is certainly an aspect of it, but I don't think a lot of people were interested in what they were selling overall.
Yeah. As far as, this park is a monumental endeavor. To introduce something as huge as a not only just Star Wars exhibit that was there before the purchase of Star Wars by Disney, but Galaxy's Edge and the hotel and everything. It's a monumental task. Technically speaking, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and probably did. And, they wanted to do a certain amount of things to treat the guests and things like that. And, like you said, some of the things didn't pan out. I think, a lot of people, I would feel that a lot of people are practical enough to say, all right, we didn't get this. And I understand it's a big endeavor. But damn, I mean, there's a lot there that could have worked if it, I don't know, if it was planned a little better or restructured. I mean, to introduce a hotel stay for $6,000 for 2 nights is kind of a hard sell, COVID or no COVID.
Well, that's the thing. They launched this as an immersive Star Wars experience that was going to be the ultimate fan experience. And I'm going back to 2019 when they first announced it. Pat, me, and the Star Wise were in a van driving to Orlando when they announced it, and we were like over the moon with anticipation. And both Kalea and Bernie were like, even if this costs $500 a night, this is what they said. They literally said $500 a night. You guys are going to do this. There is no way you're not going to do this. So, times that by 5, and 3 years later, there's no way we are going to do it. We as Star Wars fans, we can't take that away from our families. There's so much else going on there.
Sure.
And I get it. Look, if you can afford it and do the 2-night, 3-day experience and immerse yourself, that is fantastic. It's a great thing that you can do that, and that's amazing for you. But I experienced that when we heard that the hotel was shutting down. I had 6 people take probably about 45 minutes of my time on Friday morning at my office. It's like, holy crap, did you hear about the hotel? Oh my gosh, what's going on? And these were casual Star Wars fans to one of our in the office. He loves Star Wars, and he would never even entertain the idea of doing this type of experience. It was never in his income realm, but he loves Star Wars, and it was an experience that was going to be far out of his his realm of possibility. And for him, that was like wow, I was never going to do it anyways. Why would I'm not worried about it. I'm not sad about it. I was never going to do it. So, oh well, whatever. I'll just watch what's next on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's crazy pricing. Andrew's got a good point, a good question. Do we think that it'll just become a Star Wars themed Disney resort going forward? I think it will, because you're shaking your head. No, you don't think so?
No, I think
they can't tear it down and then build something up. I
don't think they're going to build anything there. I think they're going to tear it down and hope that people forget it ever happened.
Wow, that's monumental, though.
Trust me. I think they're scrapping this thing.
Wow.
They said it's closing permanently. So, again, the problem is it's a concrete bunker from the outside. There's zero theming on the outside of this thing. It's like a concrete bunker attached to a concrete pole barn looking thing. It is
it's true. It's true.
There are no windows in this thing. It's not
no doors.
Windows in you'd want to see. It's around an exit ramp, and then the other part of it is just open to the studio's parking lot. So it's in a terrible spot to be any kind of reasonable hotel. It's got no real room for them to build out any additional amenities, and it's just strange to me. I thought kind of Disney's statement when they closed it down was disingenuous, because they made it sound like it was a 100-room boutique hotel that they were kind of using to spitball ideas, and it was like it was some sort of experiment. And I don't think it was ever an experiment. I think they thought by making it 100 rooms, this place was going to be packed forever, and that they'd just be able to just soak up that money. And it kind of goes back to what I said when we were talking about this episode of the arrogance, whether you want to call it arrogance or blindness of these companies that buy IP, successful IP, and just think that I shelled out a ton of money for this, so we can just do whatever we want out there and people are going to gobble it up because it's Star Wars. And I don't think any of us on here want to see them failing at Star Wars. We want to see them put out great Star Wars content that we can all get on board with. It doesn't have to be OT characters. It just has to be good characters, good story. They have to put some attention to detail in it and make something fun. And it's like they don't feel like they really have to try with things like this, because they can just slap the Star Wars brand on it and soak up the cash.
Yeah. So listen, they they bought a property that was raised from the ground by Lucas, fighting tooth and nail every step of the way. He earned the success of Star Wars. And it's almost as if they feel like, hey, it's Star Wars. Obviously, people go for it. And that's not really how it works. It's been a referendum on the just sort of entitled approach of it's Star Wars. People buy into it because they won't. You have to earn the success of a good story. You have to write the characters well. You have to have good plot development, and you have to integrate that properly into an experience that people will want to go to and then want to go to again.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Going forward, it'll be very interesting to see what happens to the development, what happens to their planning. And we'll probably, get a lot of detail because, the internet is the internet. So, we'll see. But let's go to the next topic. I know Joker Face is very interested in hearing what we have to say about Willow and other shows that have been removed or are being planned to be removed from Disney Edition. That's what Cam calls it, right? Disney Plus.
No, he calls it Camney Plus. Yeah.
Camney Plus. Very
Of course
nice.
he does. Of course he does.
So, it's obviously for people that enjoyed the Willow series. I personally don't know any of them, but for people that enjoyed the Willow series, it's kind of a sad moment if they're taking it completely off. And again, I think I was asking online, why are they taking it completely off? I mean, they just leave it there. But I think that might have to. And Pat, I think you were the one that kind of chimed in the chat, gave a really good reason that I didn't really think about when it comes to the old ways of syndicating a television show. When the show gets repeated in syndication, some of the actors and creatives behind the scenes get a cut of the pot, I guess. And to me, that makes sense. They don't want to pay the writers, actors, or whoever was in their contingency plan regarding payment. Yeah, I mean, it's sad, and I think it's one of those cost cutting measures that obviously Bob Iger. I made a graphic for that actually.
Oh boy!
Now that
Bob Iger returned.
So him coming back, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of pieces on the board that are moving and shaking and sliding all over the place. Disney is in a well. First of all, I don't know my corporate history, but has there ever been a corporation that has brought back a previous CEO to kind of straighten out the mouse house, or straighten out anything on the corporate level? I don't really.
I would think it's happened in the past. If you look
Yeah.
at all corporations, it's not something that I'm familiar with at Disney, but it's funny, they're canceling all these projects that were quote unquote JPEG projects, but this wasn't a JPEG project. This was, at least the Star Cruiser was an Iger project. That took them forever to actually realize, as is the case with a lot of things at Disney.
You mean Disney took it forever to make something? Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like it took them 5 years to copy a ride from.
I just walked past Tron last night, and I was like, "That's it."
And you're gonna have Universal build an entire new park and 3 hotels.
Yeah.
Better watch out.
But I mean, for those of us, we did a Willow show. I know I've seen some other people review Willow, Andrew, the Science Fictionary podcast. We all talked about Willow during its original run. We had certain problems with the script. I mean, I personally love the actors; they were great. But it was just the script and the story was so bad, as Andrew said here. I didn't like the mix of modern music with the fantasy aspect of the show. It just really took me out of it. There's a lot of reasons why Willow did not work. And obviously we had hints that it was going to at least span, another 2 seasons. But they stopped that from happening. Disney's not going to do that. And it's too bad, because I love the original movie. I love the fantasy, the magical aspect of Willow as a character, and it could have been great, but it just wasn't. Again, getting to the writing of the show, it was for my taste, it was very weak. It was very mid-level writing, and it was a big mess. There's no surprise to me as why it was canceled. Willow, the series, just did not have the numbers.
A lot of
I would say,
yeah, agenda before story.
And it wasn't even that. I mean, I can understand when people say agenda. There's an agenda in this thing, but sometimes it's like, all right, okay. Sometimes there is, but sometimes it's written well. But this just wasn't.
Yeah, that's what Star Wife Bernadette. She doesn't have time for TV, but she was very excited about Willow because she loved the movie. We had watched it probably 3 or 4 weeks before the series premiered, and she was uniquely excited for this show. And we watched a few episodes, and she was working nights, whatever it was. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks would pass, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to finish Willow?" And she's like, "Oh, we haven't finished that already?" "Oh, okay." And then we watched the end of it, and she was completely disenchanted. It was not a story that she was interested in. She didn't have any investment in the characters apart from watching the original movie. And this, for me, and maybe Pat is the same way, is the litmus test for, have you written a story that's engaging for fans at a sort of middling level? Have you written something successful that rides on a previous franchise's success that will bring you into today and want to continue watching it? And this was definitely one of the stories that she didn't realize that she hadn't finished and had no care to watch.
If I want to watch a magical midget do something amazing, I'll just watch Pat do his situation.
I felt a disturbance in the force
wasn't
as
enough
soon as he opened his mouth. As soon as.
Touche.
All right, so I blacked out after Magical Midget. What was the rest of it?
I'll just let you create some of your cosplay, which is truly magical. There was a compliment in there. There was a compliment wrapped in an insult.
That's a compliment. Who needs insults?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Don't worry. He says this stuff all the time. No, the problem is Disney's being forced to deal with some of these issues that have arisen. Whether it's just strictly financially in terms of this show's not profitable, or if it's to save face, as in this hotel ain't cutting it, then they have to kind of rethink some things. And the hope that I have for the company and for the franchise is that they learn from these events, from these offerings that they give that fall flat, and that they rethink what they're doing. Like if they plan to do a trilogy again, that they think about what the story is for all 3 of those films before they embark on that, so that they can have a success. Because the last thing any of us want is for a series to flop, is for the franchise to take a hit. Because then it's like, we all like it, we all love it, and want it to succeed, but want it to succeed for the right reasons, because it's good. We want Star Wars to be good.
Yeah.
So make it good, and everyone will be happy.
It's funny though. I mean, I understand that sentiment. I mean, I don't think any creative, and I've said this before, I don't think a creative exists out there that sets out to do a project and wants it to fail. We recognize the name and what's his name? Lawrence Kasdan's son. We recognize the family name. Empire Strikes Back. He comes from a family of writers that we are familiar with. ILM and Lucasfilm, et cetera, but it's it's just weird. I think even if it was an experiment into a stylistic way of telling this story, as far as the Willow series goes, it just didn't work. I think sometimes they forget what it is about these franchises that made it so memorable and special to begin with, that they stray away from that, and then they fuck around and find out.
Mm. Yep.
So here we are.
Absolutely. And one of the interesting things about the whole Disney Plus deal is that they've been losing money hand over fist, and it's been the parks that have been propping them up. And now we're entering this phase where the parks are starting to see less attendance. If there is actually a recession coming down the pike, they're going to see even tighter times ahead for people with less disposable income to even go to the parks. And they're not going to be able to prop up things like Disney Plus. And I think that could have easily been one of the factors involved in the Galactic Star Cruiser. I think that, they're trying to trim the fat and stop some of these projects that are not making them money as quickly as they need to make it. But yeah, they're going to have to, kind of face reality here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as some people have mentioned, with the demise of the Star Cruiser, I might get one of those ladders up to the bunk.
Yes, that would be amazing. I'm sure.
I wouldn't complain. I
Right.
wouldn't complain. And if
I was
my
thinking of
bed were
those
as
big
roomy
bunk
as
beds.
those bunks.
Yeah.
I knew Pat could never go. They didn't have a ladder to get up to the lower bunk.
Jesus.
I could have gone. I would have brought my own.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's a prop, I tell you.
I got to move on. I got to move on to Charles next. No.
Yeah, I don't know. Any final thoughts on this? I think the Disney is used to putting a lot of their projects back in the vault, and then bringing them out periodically. I don't know if this is going to be that case, but it's certainly interesting now that they're putting Willow on the back burner. They're just canceling it all. I don't know. We'll
gone out. I know Fairy Tale Weddings, which was a personal favorite of mine, is gone. So
yeah,
it's truly heartbreaking.
I mean,
They only
again,
get rid of the stuff people love, Rob. Come on.
Come on now.
yeah.
I'll pass that on to Kim for you.
Wait,
No,
it's coming here?
no.
No, double our efforts.
But I saw today that Disney had sort of backtracked a bit from the content that they were going to be removing from Disney Plus. I didn't read the article, and Rob has pointed this out, and everyone here has pointed this out, is that you will read a headline, people will take it for granted and just make their own storyline for it. But I think
on the internet, that doesn't happen.
No,
I'd rather
never,
they take
never.
it for granted than granite like Geode.
Oh. Come on, Jar Jar. So that if the streaming services are listening to what the fans want to have accessible, and the writer's strike that's currently going on is trying to claw back some of their losses from what they're experiencing, it's a very interesting time, because the entire industry has shifted from 24 episodes, and Ro and Rob can definitely attest to this because we're older, and we're much older than Pat. You had a season of 24 episodes, you had commercial breaks, and the writers got their due. But now it's very different. It's a completely different time.
Bow, bow.
Okay, and
we're
then
back.
and
I remember the times of television, gentlemen.
you got to bring us back with your bow bow. You got to have a
Yes.
slight. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. There you go.
And we're back.
It's a very different
This
time.
threw Charles way off his game. So I had to
Totally.
fix everything now.
I can see his wheels turning. Like, what the hell is Ro doing?
But with the
I'm
exchange
like, I'm doing
rate,
the
it's
thing
all
on your
muddled.
show.
I didn't know Charles had game.
I don't. I seriously don't. But the advent of these streaming services having 8, maybe 6, 8, 10 episodes, it completely changes what the writers are actually doing and how they're compensated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of danger when it comes to what streaming represents. I think it's interesting because each aspect of technology as it changes represents a new challenge for creative people. Obviously you had movies, and then streaming came along, and nobody's going to the movie theater. And I hope movie theaters never die. You have movies at home, first run, you don't need to leave your house. And then, I mean, even the advent of artificial intelligence and writing, things with AI and creating photos and art with AI. It's kind of a scary time. And for me, I am a member of a union myself. There are always things that we are talking about to obviously maintain the worth of the work that we provide. But I think that's important, I guess, with all unions of a workforce, whether it's, labor, creative, whatever. But I think it's interesting. We have to kind of delegate the challenges that are presented through the technological advances of media in general to be able to kind of, distill those challenges in a way that that is beneficial to the people that are working, the people that are working, that provide, sustenance for their families, to be able to, make a good living here in the United States. That is very different than, just living anywhere else in the world. Obviously we are lucky to be able to have unions and go and join a union and be able to, say, hey, this isn't right. Let's talk about it. For me, I think, I've been in a union since the mid 90s, and we've had some ups and downs, but I think, it's interesting. I think the advent of streaming, and obviously what you're talking about when it comes to, a shorter season. I mean, I can't imagine a current show nowadays that will run 24 episodes. It's unfathomable to me, because that's a lot of episodes. And we get what season 3 of Mandalorian was how many episodes? 8.
But I mean, you're talking like 40, 45 minutes each episode. Sometimes they're 30, but
right.
If you're talking old school TV, you've got like 22 minutes plus commercials,
Yeah.
And I mean, not to say that as conversations, we're not, looking towards the future. Chat GPT is sort of the advent of what's going to be coming. Stay tuned that we're launching Pat GPT very soon. And it's going to be, every second word is going to have Luke in it. And if you guys want a series that's written well, that contains a story that's it's written by Pat GPT. It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be less than 12 minutes each episode. It's going to be fantastic.
Full of terrible impressions and words that don't exist.
I'm going to start preparing for the entertainment apocalypse right now.
Yeah, Andrew's got a good point. The SAG is also threatening to strike, and so are so is the Directors Guild. So we're going to have like nobody in charge of entertaining us.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
We already have that.
Well, thanks to a gift, thanks to a gift from Ro, the SAG no longer exists.
I've seen some of these actors they've been rolling out. There's plenty of SAG.
Wow.
If only you're a fly on the wall, right, Rob?
Well, we know what flies are attracted to.
Such a mess.
Did someone snort?
Listen, Ro, I feel like I need to apologize for the three of us, to you specifically, for all of this.
Hey, it's my fault. I invited you guys.
I didn't want
is.
to.
It
I
is
didn't
your
want to
fault.
put the blame squarely on you, but
But it is my fault. Yeah.
God,
I mean, it's interesting. It's not the first time we've had a writer's strike or a strike of any kind, but I do definitely hope that
then you're
that it's
stuck with
over.
reality shows.
Yeah,
for
we
who
don't
knows
want that.
when.
We don't want that.
No, unless there's more
You know,
Ahmed Best reality shows.
you know what would be great is a Star Wars reality show of fans living in like an MTV
Yeah,
Pit
like
My
Big
House,
Brother, but like big
but Star Wars fans. It'll
No.
be
big
In the
rebel.
abandoned Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel.
yes. Come on, genius.
Let's do it. I'll meet you there.
Right.
Oh my God.
Can't be that hard to get in.
There's no security now.
Oh, security. Oh boy.
All we have to do is drive the box truck up to the. Oh wait,
what?
I mean, sorry, the
How'd
shuttle
that go?
truck. The box.
Okay.
truck.
So funny.
Oh man.
Oh
Woo.
man. But
Oh, could you imagine like a Star Wars Big Brother?
yeah, I think that would be.
Oh.
I think that'd be interesting.
It would
Get a
be.
whole bunch. Bring back the podcasts that Disney invited to the damn hotel in the first place, and have them,
Oh.
live there for a week and see how they fare.
I'll live there for 2 days. It'll be like Survivor.
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor. We
Almost
should
all.
totally. Oh, wait. No,
Wait
we
a
can't
second.
use- we can't use that one. I just heard we can't use that one.
Arm us all with dueling lightsabers, and we'll see what they learned in the dojo.
Right.
People would pay to watch YouTubers get beaten down with dueling lightsabers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? Let me call Kathleen right now, man. This is a great idea.
Oh, don't worry, they steal every one of our ideas without any phone calls.
Oh.
Wow. I think that would be great. That would be great. Yeah. So any questions from the chat or any comments in the chat that you guys want us to tackle before we call it an evening? But yeah. Guys, thank you so much. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I haven't had a thought all night, so
He ain't lying.
Mm.
Well, it'll be interesting. Like I said earlier, it'll be interesting to see how things develop from here, based on how poorly, for example, Disney has done with the expectations versus reality of the Star Cruiser, and then how long and how detrimental the strike is, and all. Hopefully, people learn something from these things.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tina said something way up in the chat earlier. It seems like Star Wars is the Achilles heel to Disney, and I think the fact that they have not set a schedule to release a movie up until just recent Star Wars Celebration. They started talking about movie releases. It just seems like they are not sure what to do with Star Wars, both in live action and on the big screen. It's interesting, and obviously the Mandoverse, Dave Filoni and Favreau are busy at work to try and do their thing, and I think that is one aspect of Star Wars that is really kind of resonating with a lot of fans. And obviously, I've always said that Star Wars animation has been top tier to begin with. It really never has fallen off the scale there. I got to do a show about Visions because I need to talk about it with somebody, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think, Pat, you said it. Going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what it is how they restructure everything, because it seems like right now, with Bob Iger in control again, it has really gotten complicated, and it really has gotten to a point where they're kind of, it almost seems like they're just throwing in the towel and taking a a really taking a step back and seeing where is it that we need to improve or where do we need to stop. I don't know. It's weird.
If you knew what they did with that towel, you'd understand why they were throwing it at him.
Oh boy.
Look, what I can say is that from my perspective, if they've now shut down the Star Cruiser experience, they've not backed down from their price. They've, offered, like Pat was saying, discounts to annual pass holders, Disney Vacation Club people. They've seen this as a swing for the fence and a strikeout. They cut it off. That's done. If they knew that, because we got an email what a month ago, Pat, that as annual pass holders that we got the 30% discount offer for a 2-night stay. So this precedes their announcement for these movies at Disney Celebration Europe. They know where their future success is going to be, and if they make stories that appeal to people and to fans across multiple levels of fandom, that's where their success is going to be. Look, that you said it, Ro. You said it from the first minute of this show. We just want this entire franchise to succeed, and that's what we all want. If they give good stories, investment in character that we love, they'll be fine. And we'll look at the Star Cruiser as a misstep that was affected by a worldwide pandemic and inflation, all these different kinds of things that are in there. We'll forget about it. And if you give us good stories, we'll be able to move on from it. And that's what I hope for Star Wars, is that we continue, and in 20 years, we're still talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Star Wars has survived this long. Obviously, as a Star Wars fan, I hope it survives, another 40 years. But I don't know.
Doesn't. These two are in trouble because they need more dolls to do their little dioramas.
Figures! Come on! My God.
The dollaramas.
We've got plenty, thank you very much.
The Dollar Tree.
The Dollar Tree. There you go. Excellent. Gentlemen, say a quick hello to Mr. Salty, one of the Salty Nerds, Matt Vader 74, for joining us late in the game here. Thank you very much for coming by and saying hello. But yeah,
all that sweet beer.
Well, hopefully they'll get some sort of news. If you do not know, the crew of the Salty Nerd was robbed a couple of weeks ago, and it was a terrible blow to the podcast community where they're at in Nevada and Las Vegas. But they are up and running again, I think, and hopefully the authorities will catch the perpetrators. And but you know how that goes.
Nobody worries when I get robbed every time JTA blows up my chat.
We try for that every week.
Hilarious. Too funny. All right. Any final thoughts on all of this? It's a big mess for sure. But, again.
Great. I'm glad to know that Ro had us on for the big mess episode.
There you go.
That's just good planning.
He knows us too well.
Absolutely. Charles, Pat, thank you guys for joining me. Rob, thank you. Let's go around the table and see where people can find you guys to say hello there. Charles, Pat.
Well, hello there. We're online, as you know. Sorry, I got caught in the Obi-Wan. We are on our very own website at conversations.com. We have the Twitter and the Instas, I'm pretty sure. They're still active, right? We haven't gotten kicked out yet?
No, okay. We actually just announced our 500th follower, so we are doing very well there.
Yes, we have our little R5 droids. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Yes. So we have the Facebook.com/Conversations, Twitter @Swations, Insta is Conversations. We have our bio.link/Red5. and
And
that's
we also have our newly launched
oh boy.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Etsy
there we
shop.
go.
We've got properly sanctioned and unpulled down
Eh.
Lucasfilm. Well, for the next week at least, we'll be sharing that in the next few days. We have an Etsy shop that will have all of our crazy ideas for products and T-shirts up for sale, and hope you guys take a look at that. And we're very excited about that, and hopefully we'll be pulled down in 4 or 5 days.
And we're adding a new one tomorrow.
I see a lot of stuff. I see a lot of stuff on Etsy. It's almost like that's like the wild west with copyright infringement.
It is
because
it's it's the artist inspired artwork versus the
trademark infringement.
Yes, and the business structure on Etsy is very different from all of the other t-shirt companies. So it takes time to build it up, but once you get it up and running, it's the copyright free for all.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Moss Pelgo of the internet.
Yes.
Oh,
cool. And Rob, how about you?
Yeah, you can find me at JTA Podcast, where I try to put out an episode fortnightly. Or occasionally getting a pity reference on a Conversations podcast. We do that fairly often. So.
Every episode you get a pity reference.
I don't listen to any of them, so I just take your word for it.
No one does.
Join the club.
Right. I'm trying to hold you guys back from getting to that double-digit listenership. So
It's worked so far.
And obviously, Ro will have me on occasionally to throw some salt on these conversations. So.
Excellent. Always fun. Always fun, guys. So yeah, I'm wearing my May 25th, 1977 t-shirt, and I wanted to remind everybody that a couple of episodes ago, we are still running a contest. The deadline is May 25th. Only one person has responded to that contest. And we have to make sure that Nick Schaefer doesn't get all the toys and figures. But
wait,
there's figures and dolls and all sorts of things. But yeah, listen to, I think it's the episode where Nicole and Todd and we were at C2E2. We did a recap of C2E2. So listen to that episode and find out how you can win one of 3 swag packs to commemorate the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast 4 years as a podcast. Brad and I started back in 2019 and been having a lot of fun. So it's a good year. Make sure you listen to that episode and enter to win. Last day is May 25th.
And everyone, please visit Nick at Backyard TARDIS. Visit his OnlyFans site. We do want to make sure that he gets to the Star Cruiser before they close down.
There's a lot of weird feet stuff on it, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. With keys on it. Excellent. So
on the big toe.
It's lockable chastity belts. And he shows you how to open all of them.
And again, if you guys want to support the podcast, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Scarif. I will mail you guys some Scarif stickers, and I got some new ones that are really cool for some of our patrons. I will throw some of these in there as well.
Ooh, nice.
Some Scarif stickers, but obviously, thank you everyone. Thank all of our patrons. There obviously a few of them in the chat, like Danny at Comics and Cosmetics. Visit her channel. She's got a lot of cool things that she's doing over there, and mentioned obviously Backyard TARDIS. Thank you so much for your support, everybody. Give us a call. We love to hear your voice. 773-234-8659. That is the Scarif Scuttlebutt hotcakes. I'm hungry.
Hotcakes. All right.
Hotline. Leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you think of the show, or let us know what you think of the topics tonight. I know we had a lot of fun discussing all this stuff. And that's about it. You guys mentioned the rest of the Red 5 network is available for your pleasure over at bio.link/Red5. Over, what do we got? Like 37 podcasts and YouTube creators that are out there ready to entertain and regale you with some shenanigans. But until next time, this is Ro, Charles, Pat, Rob. Thank you so much for joining us. May the force be with you. And that's the Scuttlebutt.